Good morning. Welcome to the May 17, 2017 meeting of the Charter Authorizing Panel. I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everyone to the Department of Ed and ask that you please silence all electronic devices. The Charter Authorizing Panel oversees the authorization, renewal, revision, and revocation of charters. We will facilitate a fair and responsible hearing today. I request that each person speaking state your name and title for the record and ask that you continue to speak clearly into the microphone for the benefit of the panel, the audience, and the viewing audience. The entire meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and a transcript of the meeting will be posted on the Arkansas Department of Ed website. The first item on the agenda is reports, and I have no report. Does any member of the panel have a report? Hearing none, we'll move to number 2, Charter Office Proposal. Ms. Boyd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it's okay with the...
Your microphone's not on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it's okay with the panel, I would ask that we talk about this at the end of the agenda.
It's okay with me.
It's good.
All right, thank you.
All right. Then moving on to the consent agenda, the April 19 minutes are attached for your review, and I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made by Dr. Gocher, seconded by Dr. Pfeffer. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Minutes are approved. Action agenda item 1, request for open enrollment public charter school amendment for Exalt Academy of Southwest Little Rock. Ms. Perry, good morning.
Good morning, Virginia Perry ADE's charter unit. The first agenda item is from Exalt Academy of Southwest Little Rock, and the presenter is Christina Long, Superintendent.
Ms. Davis, do you have guidance for us this morning?
Hi, good morning. Jennifer Davis, staff attorney for the department. The procedures that you will follow for all the agenda items today will be the same. It'll be that all persons wishing to provide testimony will need to be sworn in, with the exception of attorneys. The applicant will have 20 minutes to present its amendment request to you, followed by 20 minutes collectively for any opposition, and then another 5 minutes rebuttal time for the applicant. At that point, you can ask any questions of the applicant or the ADE staff or anyone that may have answers to your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. All those speaking for or in opposition of Exalt Academy of Southwest Little Rock, if you please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Dr. Long, you're recognized.
Good morning, Chair Kaufman. Good morning, everybody. My name is Christina Long. I'm the Superintendent and Chief Academic Officer for Exalt Academy of Southwest Little Rock and Little Rock Preparatory Academy, and I'm here today seeking an amendment to our charter on 2 different things. The first one is the flexibility to be able to select an auditor. We have a great board of directors, very active, with a finance committee that meets very regularly. The finance committee reviews all details of monthly finances, budgets, as well as very diligent about selecting an auditor. So we would like the flexibility to be able to select an auditor that is appropriate for the school that current year. The second request is actually an oversight. It's not a change to what we're already doing. Just to remind you, we have an extended school day, an extended school year, and we operate in small group learning throughout the whole day. And how we do that is having 2 highly qualified teachers in every single classroom. In order to be able to financially afford that model, we do request a slightly larger class size. During our core subjects throughout the day, students are in small groups receiving individualized attention, and then also we have a very strong RTI model with remediation throughout the day. So the class size waiver is just simply for the non-academic subjects on the ends of the day. So that's my 2 requests for you. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Ms. Perry, do we have anyone to speak in opposition?
My question's really actually for Greg.
Mine too.
So I saw that this request for the change of method for fiscal audit, as it was on more than one charter today. Are you aware of any, like, new reason that would be happening? Or does this cause you any concern, or?
I don't know of any reason why it would be happening, but I'm not concerned right
Okay.
now with it. I mean, if they want
So
to
you're
select.
fine with this happening with okay.
Yeah, as long as there's an audit being done, and if they're looking for someone that they feel would be better suited to look over how their schools operate, then I'm okay.
That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Dr. Pepper?
Good morning.
Good morning.
And this is just more of a clarification because of ESSA's change from removing highly qualified teacher from the law. So how are you defining a highly qualified teacher?
We're currently using the same standards as previously, even before the change. So we haven't changed our criteria.
Okay, so can you describe what that criteria is? And it's in your
Absolutely.
core classes, correct?
Absolutely. So all of our teachers have a bachelor's degree or higher. Teachers either we're moving more towards certification. Many of our new hires all are certified. All of our teachers are part of the mentoring program, that our new mentoring program, and then we offer, of course, professional development every single week, plus 4 weeks in the summer for all of our new teachers specifically in our program. But all of our teachers have had experience working with children in an education setting or in a preschool type program, and then have a bachelor's degree or higher.
Okay, and just for clarification, so your teachers who met the previous highly qualified status are in line with the changes that we made for Arkansas qualified teacher requirements. So, you know, your previously highly qualified teachers still meet those requirements, and the AQT just gives even more flexibility. So I guess just in the future, though, new teachers that are hired who may not be certified but have the bachelor's degree and the experience in the content area would just fall under the Arkansas qualified teacher rules there. So,
Thank you.
okay. Am I saying everything correct, Ms. Davis?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I was just talking about new teachers that would be hired, because they're ones that have been hired under the former HQT requirements would meet the changed requirements
Right.
under the Arkansas Qualified Teacher rules, but just making sure that they're aware of what those rules are. But if they were meeting that in the past, there shouldn't be any issue in the future. Okay.
Other questions? Dr. Long, in the schedule, the staggered schedule for the teachers, 7:30 to 3, and the other teacher would be 8:30 to 5?
Thank you for bringing that up. That was actually a typo. It's 7 to 3:30, and then 8:30 to 5. So the two teachers in the classroom is between 8:30 and 3:30, which is when we run all of our small group instruction.
Makes good sense. Any other questions? Then I'll accept them. Tripp, do you have?
My question was whether or not teachers were going to be compensated for any students over 150 that they may have. It may not be over a teaching load with the way that they have it, but I don't know.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the panel, Tripp Walter, Staff Attorney, Arkansas Public School Resource Center. We didn't work with them, Exalt on the front end, but I'm familiar with the waiver request, and I believe after talking to Ms. Long, if we could, we'd like to also add a request for Arkansas Code annotated 6-17-812 meaning that if we do have teachers that exceed the class size and teaching load requirements, that they will be compensated in their contract as it is.
So you're asking for a waiver from compensation?
Yes, ma'am.
Or you
For the
are
addition,
asking
for the
for
additional students, that the agreements, the employment agreements that the school will have with the teachers will compensate them fully in the event that there are extra students. There won't be any additional compensation provided.
Any questions for?
Maybe I wasn't clear. So no compensation if a class load exceeds 150.
No additional compensation, so they'll have a contract up front,
Right.
fully aware of the class structure prior to signing it.
And the hours.
Oh, yes, absolutely, it's all,
Understood.
yeah,
That
it's
makes
all in
sense.
there.
Coming from a private school background, I understand. Ms. Davis, do you have any additional? Okay. All right. With no additional questions, I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve the amendment request.
Second.
A motion has been made by Dr. Pfeffer, seconded by Dr. Gocher to approve the amendments. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
If you'll wait just a moment, we'll give you a oral response.
Did we get a,
Yes, and it should have an email.
there it is, got it. Alex. Got it now.
Forward it to you.
Yep, I found it.
Dr. Gocher?
Madam Chair, I voted for the motion to approve. This amendment request presents no concerns for me.
Mr. Lester?
Voted for, no concerns with the amendments.
Dr. Pfeffer?
I'm comfortable with the amendment request that is aligned to the small group instruction provided to students in this charter.
Ms. Smith?
Voted for, no concerns with the amendment request.
It was the third one.
Mr. Rogers?
I voted in favor. I have no concerns with it.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Let me get back to my agenda. Action item 2 is a request for open enrollment public charter school amendment for Little Rock Preparatory Academy. Ms. Perry, you're recognized.
The second amendment request comes from Little Rock Preparatory Academy, and we have Christina Long again as the superintendent.
Ms. Davis, do I have to swear her in again? Okay. Anyone speaking in opposition? Ms. Long, you're recognized.
Thank you again. So this amendment request is just for the first waiver that we were discussing earlier, which is an amendment for being able to have the flexibility to seek a auditor that's most appropriate. Little Rock Preparatory Academy also has an independent board of trustees that meet very regularly, actually long-standing. They've been with the school for a while. And within their board of trustees, they also have a finance committee that is meeting very regularly. So they would like, as well as the executive management team, the flexibility to pick an auditor that best fits the school.
Mr. Rogers?
On both of them, are y'all looking at having leg audit also as one of the ones you may look to pick?
That is one of the options they're selecting, yes.
Any additional questions? Then I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve amendment request.
A motion has been made by Dr. Gocher, seconded by Mr. Rogers to approve the amendment. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. If you'll give us a second.
Thank you very much for everything. I appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Dr. Gocher?
Voted for the amendment request. No concerns with this amendment request.
Mr. Lester?
Voted for the amendment request. I have no concerns with the amendment.
Dr. Pfeffer?
I voted in favor. I have no concerns.
Mr. Rogers?
Voted for, no concerns.
Ms. Smith?
4, no concerns.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Long. Action item 3, request for open enrollment public charter school amendment, Arkansas Virtual Academy. Ms. Perry, you're recognized.
The final amendment request comes from Arkansas Virtual Academy, and Dr. Scott Sides is here to present.
If everyone speaking on behalf of the charter and anyone speaking in opposition would please stand to receive the oath. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the panel. Thank you for this opportunity to present after February's hearing originally for this amendment. My name, again, is Scott Sides. I'm head of school at Arkansas Virtual Academy. What I would do, if it meets the pleasure of the panel, would be to pick up really where we left off in the February amendment hearing. And from that, I had went to the Arkansas Virtual Academy Board of Directors in their meeting and explained the position of the panel, explained the concerns of the panel. We talked especially about state reporting, and we talked about the amendment itself, the rationale for the amendment, and how we should proceed per their direction from there. And from that conversation, the Arkansas Virtual Academy Board of Directors absolutely agrees with the panel that state reporting is a 100% commitment that we will meet in full, and we all agree on that. My team agrees, at the school, the board agrees. That's something that we're going to be successful in doing. So agreeing also with the panel that specific procedures developed, roles and responsibilities created was the correct path. And so if I could start there, then that's where I would start. I believe that you had received about a 34-page document that has been created that addresses first the, and I believe that you have this with you right now, that addresses first the reporting stakeholders by role within the school, also as they are described within eSchool. It further notes individuals who are also involved in our reporting accuracy through the Charter Management Organization of K-12. There are a number of additional reviews that take place beyond just what happens at the school. So that was an important value add also to capture within this document, but also procedurally to include. So when you turn then to page 3, this is where we start with the cycle reporting workflow by stakeholder. Now, this is an Excel document that's sortable by cycle. Cycle 2 was especially a topic of conversation during our previous exchange. And so this is all sortable by cycle, where every person can know who is involved, their responsibility as a minimal job expectation in our commitment to data accuracy with the state. So there should be no questions about any of the cycles that are submitted. It includes where it starts and where it ends. It starts with me, it ends with me, that it's managed by a specific person, and that ultimately it's verified by a specific set of people, each of these reports, and ultimately certified by me as head of school. So this has been done for every cycle that we submit, or every report within every cycle throughout the course of the school year. And I will tell you that this has been a great exercise for us. I hope that today we will meet your approval. But I can tell you that having done this as a team was an important thing for us to do at this point in the life of the school. And so, from this February hearing, this has been a very positive outcome. Once you move past the cycle reporting roles and responsibilities, and of course, I understand that there may be questions upon completion of my explanation, there's also an annual required reports expression that is on about page 27. We should have had this page numbered, and that would have made it easier for you. But it is formatted differently when you get to that section. It's no longer in Excel and now in Word. And this takes the annual required reports that the Department of Education issues every year and sequences out the same workflow to include links so that even if we had a new person in a role, that we would have a desk reference for them to be able to immediately know what their role is, where the information may be found, with specific deadlines, and also optimal deadlines where we don't want to run it up to the last minute. We want to make sure that we are submitting early. And I would add to this, we've had visits with other schools, and one school in particular, I should say, with a school. And it was eSTEM. You all may know that eSTEM is a top-rate performer in this domain. And so we have sought their counsel. They visited with us. We visited with them. And they have been a helpful partner in the development of this to this point. We have had many exchanges with ABSCAN at and the Department of Education to support our efforts. This week, we have a person who's involved in this, who's at training right now. She was at training on Monday. And so you have our absolute commitment to 100% data quality in our work for our students and with the state of Arkansas as an open enrollment charter. So that would be point one. I believe that was the point of greatest concern that I had heard in the February hearing. So if this were an appropriate time to have conversation around this piece, I'm happy to take questions specific to this or any questions that you may have.
Ms. Perry, did we have anyone to speak in opposition?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Panel, do you have any questions? Mr. Rogers?
I don't have a question. I just want to say I appreciate you being receptive to this and jumping on it and having this to us in such a quick turnaround matter and taking it seriously and getting it done so fast. And I just wanted to say I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very well organized, yes, and we so appreciate it. Mr.
I would
Lester?
also like to say, coming from my unit, the federal unit, that it makes a huge difference in looking at your plan and where you're spending your federal money, and the numbers are correct. So again, I'm going to say the same thing that Mr. Rogers said, and I appreciate you getting on it. Makes it a lot easier in the long run.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Thank you. And if I could say, our partners at the Department of Education, the federal unit, have been top rate for years, and we've appreciated their partnership all along.
Anyone else? All right. Proceed.
Okay. Another question was about the amendment total. And in visiting with the Arkansas Virtual Academy Board of Directors, this was their position. Their position was, we had originally been approved for what was $3,000 via legislation. We had then, in partnership with the Department of Education, discerned that $2,000 was the appropriate cap total at that time in the life of the school. They are very interested in a long-range planning whereby this is settled for a longer term, and that really is their position. They believe that the rationale for the 1,000, especially when you look at how it's sequenced over 3 years, and how we're not talking about 1,000 next year. We're talking about 2,440, and then a difference of 440 students. And then sequenced over that 3-year period. They believed that based on the rationale that was the appropriate request. They acknowledged the importance of the course expansion in high school, the importance of building out the traditional middle school model within the middle school, which were core rationale components that we had come forward to express. Further, how we would build the other grade levels to then support that across time, where we have fewer peaks and valleys in terms of our enrollment, they believed was the right long-range view and plan for the school. So as we talked about that piece, this was the position of the Arkansas Virtual Academy Board of Directors, and this is what I would bring to you now, and ask questions that you may have about how this might be implemented. I know that you also have a teacher hiring piece that was provided, and it's not an exhaustive list. And we also have, not to be presumptuous in any way, but we should be looking toward next year now. And so at this point, the jobs are posted while it's understood that they might not be filled. So we are searching and vetting now in order that we would be fully prepared, as has been described in the staffing document also that has been provided.
Questions from the panel? Dr. Pfeffer?
I don't have a question. I was just going to tell you that this document, I think, was very helpful for me. It's clear in your goals for your student growth that you are carefully looking at what it would take to have teachers that they need. This was very helpful, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. I should say that Alexander Boyd was a great partner looking toward this day, and this was important from her viewpoint as well.
No questions?
Okay. And those were the two pieces that I believed were the pieces in particular question from the February hearing. We had run the full presentation in February. If the board would wish to run the full presentation, I can certainly do this as well. But these were the two pieces that I believed were areas of concern for the panel at that time.
What's the will of the panel?
Not necessary for me. They've far exceeded my expectations in responsiveness to the two concerns.
Any additional questions? Discussion? Then I'll accept a motion. Mr. Rogers, do you have anything you're concerned about?
I was reading the legislation about where they have to have the 3,000. I was going over the legislation in 2013 where it gave them the 3,000 students, but you have to have 25, is that still where you have to have 2,500 that were previously in a public school? Is that the legislation you're talking about?
Originally,
Because
yes.
it was in the public school funds appropriation, and so I'm trying to remember.
Correct, but at this point, that is not a function of our existence. It's purely our charter with the charter panel, Department of Education, and the state board.
Okay, so it's outside that. Okay.
That's correct. But that was where this had originally come, and as the board was reviewing, especially the amendment request, that was an important piece for them to remember. Where this had originally come, they believed that there had been a very responsible and additional action to sequence this over time. And while deeply appreciative of having had the opportunity, they wanted to phase this in the most purposeful way.
Okay. I do have one additional.
Dr. Pfeffer?
In the numbers that you have here in your growth, your anticipated growth, are those based on current waiting list numbers or interest that you've had from students?
In the high school, we had 275 applicants beyond what we could provide seat offers for based on our current enrollment of 2,000. Okay. So within the high school, this is true. Within K-8, we see a whole lot of movement, especially during the summer months. And, frankly, there's some movement that also happens in September, especially within the middle school. We find that people begin to think possibly later than I might for how they might be moving their child in especially middle school, depending on circumstances around them. And so enrollment, continues throughout the summer and also throughout the early part of the school year.
Ms. Smith?
Just a little bit of a comment. So just on average, just looking at state scores with ACT Aspire, you do run in most grades below the state average. And so as you look at growing with more, and I know there's a transition time still as well with the assessment, but can you kind of tell me a little bit about how do just the transition plan on really supporting new teachers coming in and maybe in the areas of math and supporting folks in math?
Sure. The teacher training is very important for us, and it is a commitment that we hold because it is a different mode of teaching for them teaching online. And so there is a robust training piece. There are about 60 hours of asynchronous, basically not live training, but we also have about a 3-day face-to-face in addition to that synchronous. So we start there. So in terms of the scores and in terms of our response, our interim assessment data is improving, especially this year, because we're now able to administer the ACT Aspire interims, which are better aligned to the ACT Aspire summative. And we take that data, this is a heavily data-driven school, because basically we have so much of it, but also when you're working online, you have so many data pieces that come to you that you really become very capable over probably what would be a shorter period of time comparatively. So taking that data and then creating intervention, some in small groups, and also based on interim performance, regrouping on a quarterly basis based on those interim outcomes. And so that was something that we had done for the first time this year, which was part of a larger academic plan decision, both for our school and also at a national level, where we are responding to interim data and then grouping our students appropriately and then re-examining at the following of the next interim data piece, and further protecting teacher time for examination, so that the interim data doesn't come forward and then you're busy and you just keep business moving forward as usual, but rather there's protected time for examination. We have data intervention coordinators who work with us. We have regional data managers. Our principals and our academic administrator are very strong in their support of teachers via the data that they have for their students. And we have biweekly data meetings with teachers around their students' data. So for a newer teacher who might have had less exposure in the month of September, there are supports in place where they are receiving instructional coaching, they're receiving support for data intervention through data intervention coordinators, and then we are running tests just exactly the way that we should be running tests. So really a three-pronged support for how we're supporting teachers, but further that the academic plan piece where we're grouping students based on the interim data outcomes and then adjusting again throughout the course of the school year.
Thank you for those comments. And this is really, this conversation is not directed just at your school. It's a conversation that's really going on statewide as digital learning becomes more popular, even in your traditional school settings. And even legislation was passed on high-quality digital learning and a task force who's looking at that.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would just encourage you guys to continue to kind of have a seat at the table and giving input to that, as this is something that I think all schools have to ask serious questions about. You even hear questions coming from higher ed about digital learning and the quality, and I think it's something that all schools have to continue to discuss, and making sure that as this platform continues to grow, that we ensure high quality and how to support teachers, even through prep programs, being able to deliver in this type of mode. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any additional questions or comments? I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve amendment request.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Dr. Gocher, seconded by Dr. Pfeffer to approve the amendment request. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Dr.
Thank you.
Sides, congratulations. If you'll wait just a moment.
We're excited to have this opportunity. Thank you.
I want to personally thank you for the work that you put into this, because having detailed operating procedures is always the right way to go. And
Yes,
it,
ma'am.
just as you described, with turnover in staff, you just never miss a beat if you have those in place. So that's excellent work, and I'm sure other schools will be looking to you to collaborate and discuss this work. It's really impressive.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a team effort.
Madam Chair, I would also like to just commend Dr. Sides and his team on going to find the people who have done a good job at this before and seeking their counsel as well. You know, I talked to Dr. Sides a little bit and just told him what it was that I thought would be needed, but all the work went in on the other side, and I'm sure all those details that came from ESTEM are something that my office definitely wasn't prepared to provide, and I just think that's a good model, and I'm hoping that as we start our roundtables that kind of exchange will happen more and more between school leaders.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
And Ms. Boyd, I think you were thinking the same way I was. And I, in the work that we do with beginning administrators and also working with the new superintendents, I think that these are examples of documents that can be very helpful in any school, regardless of your level of experience. But I think, and as Dr. Sides said, the process that they went through to create that is more valuable than the document, but the document will make sure that that process lives on and is carried out. And that's what's important to ensure that there's quality there for students. So I think that was very good. Thank you all.
Definitely. I'll be having a conversation with Dr. Sides about putting this document on our best practices webpage.
Great. Dr. Gocher.
And nice segue, Ms. Boyd. I voted for the amendment, and my comments were, I greatly appreciate the responsiveness your team demonstrated in this process. In fact, the documents presented could be a model for others to follow, and it also allows for sustainability. So thank you. Appreciate the great work.
Mr. Lester.
I voted for the amendment. I have no concerns, and again, I thank you for getting that material in.
Dr. Pepper.
All my concerns were addressed, and the school has demonstrated with planning and clear operations for communication that is ready for expansion to reach more students with the capacity to be effective.
Mr. Rogers.
I voted for, similar to how everybody else said, I appreciate the responsiveness and the level of detail and time that went into the information that we requested, so I appreciate it.
Ms. Smith.
I voted for, no concerns. I appreciate the responsiveness to the request from previous panel meeting. I want to encourage the school to continue to be a voice at the table regarding high-quality digital learning.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, that concludes our action agenda and takes us back to report number 2. Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, you guys have seen the attachment examples that I provided for you in the agenda. The charter unit is working to develop a comprehensive annual reporting system for charters. So there are a number of reports that are required for charter schools, and what we kind of want to do is combine those into one system that makes sense and is responsive to all stakeholders. So we want to take current reporting, combine it, and then add some other components that would be helpful to stakeholders, the school itself, the board, parents, students, that kind of stuff. And so we provided some examples that we've seen out in the field. And then we also wanted to give you an opportunity to provide us with input about things that you would like to see on those reports. I think the way that we're headed is to do sort of a dashboard kind of thing where a parent can click on, and we'll talk to Dr. Saunders about putting a tab in My School Info possibly, where a parent can click on and see, yes, my school is good at doing, at governance, my school is good at required reporting, my school is good at communicating with parents, my school is just on top of everything, or not, but hopefully they will be, in a dashboard form. In the first year, we would like to kind of do a pilot and a rollout with the schools that are going to be up for renewal this year. So we welcome any feedback.
Dr. Pfeffer?
In looking at all three documents you provided, I mean, it very, very helpful, and I'm excited to see those because I think it's going to help us do a better job of really understanding where people are, whether it's amendment, whether it's someone coming in new. I love the document on pre-opening protocol to assist new charters. I think that's very valuable. And the one thing that has gone through my mind in the past, and I think it's covered here in this first document, the annual report, is having the charter's goals or mission clearly stated, where because we forget that sometimes, and the mission of the charter is so critical in helping to determine their effectiveness. And you know, we know that the student performance and student academic growth is very, very, very important. But to me, even just as important is this charter really meeting the goals of the charter as they set forth, and our adjustments being made if needed. So I think it's covered in here. I mean, it's obviously listed, but just as we go through, if there is that opportunity to be sure that they're always able to put forth those things that really kind of set them apart, or show success that goes beyond just the indicators of student academic growth.
Thank you, Dr. Pfeffer. That makes a lot of sense, and I agree with you. That's something that should probably be prominent in the annual report from the very beginning, that as you look through the rest of this documentation, you should know that this is what this charter is working towards.
Mr. Lester?
I really like the board observation report, and the way in which it's organized, as far as it's kind of a rubric at the bottom where you can see those, and the questions that you have there are questions that we always have, but it's scattered in there. These are in one place where we can see what's being viewed and what's being asked, and I really like that piece.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. I just want to take that time to just say how great my team is. This is something that they approached me with when I came back from maternity leave, and that governance board observation is something that Mr. Scott has been working on refining for a while now. And I really like how visual it is, and you can just automatically look at it and see, okay, a lot of yellow, this school needs a little help. A lot of green, they're doing well, that kind of thing.
Thank you very much.
So on that governance observation report, can you talk a little bit about like your internal procedures, so that, let's say, as you all are going through and completing the document, if you see, I know you don't want to make it about a certain number of yellow, a certain number of red,
Right.
but if there do seem to be some things that are popping up, how is that handled within your internal group, and what might we expect? What are y'all thinking there?
So actually, this is a document that Mr. Scott has been using. So this year, he's done drop-in visits on school boards, so they weren't expecting him. He just showed up. And he used the tool and he made notes. And then at the end of the meeting, he would go over with the board what he saw and what were places of improvement were needed. And then he would schedule a subsequent meeting, so they were expecting him to come, and he would be there and fill out the report and follow up with them after to let them know what he noticed. If there's something that's significant that's going on, then Mr. Scott brings that back to us, and we work together as a team to get the school the assistance that they need in terms of governance. So far, in a lot of cases, a lot of it has just been the need for professional development, that the boards didn't necessarily understand that this is something they should be doing or that they should not be doing. And in response, I mentioned the roundtables earlier. Virginia Perry and Kelly McLaughlin are leading up roundtable discussions for charter school leaders. And then Freddie Scott is leading up roundtable discussions for board members that happen quarterly. So stuff that comes up repeatedly throughout different school board meetings. Mr. Scott is going to address those in those roundtable quarterly meetings to provide professional development in a larger group to board members. But then if it's something specific, then he'll go and work with that individual school.
So the intent of this is technical assistance. This is not to replace the standards or, I mean, it's not to replace any of those items. Those are still requirements. This is meant for technical assistance to help charter schools.
That's correct. And I'm thinking about getting a button made for my whole unit that says we are not standards. We are
And that's what I was going to
assistance.
get at too, is
Right.
not, the code word monitoring is not it. This is a observation that really shows what's going on site and can be, looked at as a technical assistance piece, and that's why I really like it.
Yeah. Well, and I think what I like too is it's a data gathering tool to know then if there are commonalities among several different things, then that's where you're actually providing the training and support that's needed, or you can personalize it just for even individual schools. So I think it'll be very helpful.
Thank you.
I have a couple of recommendations. One is, I'm on the first document, page, question. Let's see if I can figure out what page. Toolkit. Page 3. Where it gives the key, the color-coded key. It bothers me, the use of the word standard.
Okay.
And standard implies you have written standards. And so I'm okay with using the word standard
If
when
we
there
have
are
written
written standards. Otherwise, there's some level of expectation. And somewhere, the expectation is that you're fulfilling your charter or your expectation of something. So I think that probably needs to be spelled out, and I think what you're trying not to do is make one-size-fits-all. So maybe meeting expectations of your charter. I think performance is probably limiting on this document because, and performance can be so many different ways. So academic, financial, organizational performance is okay, as long as it didn't really make sense in the blue one. Because you could do above and beyond in some of those others if you've set some level of standard expectation. The other thing I would recommend is a conversation with Dr. Saunders and Dr. Arola, because with our report card, there will be some color coding. And so just for the sake of people reading these various documents, it would be helpful if color coding was somewhat similar. If we keep kind of this idea of a stoplight, if that's going to be consistent, that, it pretty well makes sense to everyone to kind of look at it and go, green is pretty good, or feels good. Might be safe to venture out into the intersection. And red is, pay more attention. So if that's somewhat consistent, I think that'd be helpful to all parties involved.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely want to make these reports user-friendly. So we want people to look at them and understand what they mean and go to their school board with questions or go to their school leader with questions should they have them.
And my final recommendation on the board observation report, which I love, I find it very helpful when there's just even a note in a yellow or a red box. So for example, the meeting started on time, and I can see that the meeting was 5 minutes late because the actual time was put in there on the one that was yellow. So, or a quorum was established. There were 3 people, then there were 5 people. So just, not detailed, but just even a note to say, giving me a word or two that helps me come back and say, oh, I wanted to talk about this. But the size of the page is really good, so you don't want to, put too many words in there.
That makes sense. And feel free to send me if anything comes to mind that you think would be a positive to add to this report or something that we need to change according to the examples. Please feel free to reach out to our office because we want to make this document a useful report to all stakeholders.
I think the thing that really excites me so much about the board observation report is that we know the importance of a board, and this is just a quick at a glance to see how are they operating, are they improving, have the reds turned to yellows, then turned to greens, or did something change in the other direction, and so that you can intervene more quickly with that kind of context. I think the context is really awesome.
Thank you.
Any additional things you need from us?
Yes, there is one other matter of business. In the last week or so, I've had about 3 schools make a request to have amendments made before the start of the next school year. And so I would like to request that you all schedule a meeting for June if a quorum's available. If not, then July. And also, so we're not in this position in the future, I would like to talk to you all about when you set your calendar next year to go ahead and set monthly meeting dates, and if they're not needed, then we can cancel them. So that way, we have it on your calendar and we can have a quorum should we need one. A date I was looking at June 15th or 16th, and then let's see.
Madam Chair, I have no day in June that's going to be open. I don't know about everyone else, but most of those days are already scheduled co-op things that most of us are tied up in.
What day do you have in July, Ms. Boyd?
I'm sorry, when does the state board meet in July?
July 13th, 14th?
So anytime the week of the 17th through the 21st would be ideal.
What about the 19th? July 19th? Yes?
National Title I Conference.
No? Mr. Rogers? You're good?
I won't be here.
Okay, so we'll schedule July 19th, and I'll check with the board members who aren't present, so hopefully we can have a quorum with with the 4 of you. We just need one more person to be available on the 19th.
We may have to.
And then that's all I have.
So we're holding July 19th, 8:30 to,
And I'll send you all a calendar invite.
okay. Any other items before the panel today? Dr. Gocher, is this your last panel meeting?
I was going to say, unless there's a called meeting that we can schedule, this will be my last charter panel meeting with great regret. So I've enjoyed my service, and I've enjoyed my time and being a part of making great decisions for students of Arkansas, and I'm going to be quiet before the tears begin to flow.
It's also Miss Barnes' last, and she's not even here to celebrate. So Miss Barnes is retiring, so we'll be losing 2 of our panel members.
I'm actually not against watching you cry, so if you want to continue to talk, I'm okay with that. No, I'm teasing.
More days to come.
I have no response to that.
I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Dr. Gocher, seconded by Mr. Rogers to adjourn. All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.